This card right here, the American Express Platinum card, cost me $695 a year in annual fees. Well, actually, this card is expired. This is the card I have now, meaning I've paid almost $3,500 in fees over the last 5 years. Sounds like a lot, but there's no way I would still be paying for this card if it didn't provide even more in value. So in this video, we'll break down what this is all about, including new changes this year, all the perks I've been using, including ones you've never considered, and an easy way to get hundreds of dollars off your annual fee that anyone can do. Now let's start with what you get when you first go for this card, the welcome bonus. The Amex Platinum is known for being one of the cards in the industry that offers the highest number of points, with a regular baseline offer already as high as 80,000 points after $8,000 of spend in the first 6 months, so longer than the typical 3 months most cards offer. Although keep an eye out for offers going as high as 100 or even 150,000 points. This time last year, there was a lower spending requirement at just $6,000 or $8,000 per month on average. Now it's jumped up to $8,000, so about $1,300 every month. That said, if your lifestyle can justify this card, then this 33% jump in the spending limit shouldn't be the difference of you going for this card or not. But what could make a difference is a change that's new this time around, and that's rules around who actually qualifies for these welcome bonuses. 2 things are new this year, both of which really messed up my plans. 1, all the variants of the American Express Platinum card are now considered one product. So that includes the Vanilla Platinum, the Charles Schwab Platinum, and the Morgan Stanley, and so you'll only ever qualify for the welcome bonus on one of these cards. Where before, qualifying for all 3 cards could net you north of 300,000 points. Now you only get one of them. And so because I originally had planned for the Charles Schwab version of the card in the near future, those plans had to be scrapped with no prior warning. Second, there are changes over on the Amex Gold card where the rules around the welcome bonus now say you are not eligible if you've had, of course, the gold card itself, but also if you've had any version of the Amex Platinum card. So if you're thinking of applying for Amex cards today, there's actually a correct order, and that's going for the Amex Gold first and then later going for the Amex Platinum, meaning then you'd qualify for the welcome bonuses on both cards. Now there's no way I could have predicted this years into the future when I first got this card, but if you're like me, then you're no longer eligible for the welcome bonus on the Amex Gold, which could have been anywhere between 60 to 90,000 Amex MR points. And as with all cards, the welcome bonus plays a major part in the value of those cards. So at 2 cents per point on average for these MR points, the Amex Gold welcome bonus could be valued anywhere between $1,200 and $1,800. Ouch. Now let's take a look at the spending limits on this card. If you've researched this card at all, then you'll probably be familiar with the multipliers and how they're not really suitable for day-to-day spend. And I think that's pretty accurate. At least compared to my Chase Sapphire Preferred or Venture X, the Amex Platinum sees by far the lowest use, with my year-to-date charges in 2023 just over $5,000, compared to a year earlier in 2022, which was $11,000. This may not be the best thing, because as we'll see later in the video, it may have actually hurt me in terms of the value I can get from this card. To put it simply, this is essentially a benefits card, where there's a lot of, and really only spend on it when I'm using those benefits, or in the rare case where I'm booking flights direct with the airline so I can get 5 times points. For example, when I needed to book a repositioning flight within Japan earlier this year, the cheapest was to book directly on the JAL website. So it was a no-brainer to use the Amex Platinum for that purchase for those 5 times points. Alright, onto the perks and benefits, which is where things get really interesting. And honestly, my opinion on some of these perks and benefits have kind of changed. Starting from the top, the $200 hotel credit has gotten harder to use. Usually I would use it towards a simple Vegas stay, but given so much travel this year, that trip didn't happen. And when I was planning those other major trips, there weren't that many great options either. I mean, just looking at Singapore, the cheapest nights are at least $300-400 plus per night USD, when really nice hotels in general only start around the mid-hundreds. Yes, there are the FHR benefits, but when you're in a place where you really want to just enjoy the location and not necessarily all the hotel benefits, it doesn't really make up the difference. Fortunately, I did find a decent redemption on my recent trip to Hawaii, so at least I've been able to use this credit in full for another year. Next, digital entertainment. Similar to last year, I have little to no use for this benefit and have earned a total of $0 this year, which is fine because not all credits need to be utilized to the max to make this card worth it. That said, I do anticipate next year in 2024, I will use this credit probably towards Peacock to watch the live streams of the 2024 Olympics. Then there's Walmart Plus. For some, it might be so easy to use, but if you're like me and don't really grocery shop that much, and if I do just shop locally, then you can pretty much write off this entire perk. But I found out that this perk may come in handy in certain cases, like this past Black Friday, where there was a steep $70 discount on one of the Apple Watches, where Walmart Plus members had early access, and no, this perk does not apply to trial members, it has to be paid. The $200 of Uber Cash, which is honestly the easiest credit to use pretty much every year because that's just one ride or one meal order. The $200 airline fee credit, which I'd usually use towards seat selection in the more premium side of the cabin, like Alaska's premium class, a few similar perks as well as pillows, blankets, earbuds, and amenity kits on Delta's Comfort Plus, and more legroom among other things in United's Economy Plus. But this year, travel plans change a lot and I didn't get to use the full amount here. Again, you don't have to always use the full amount every single year to justify the card. The 2 times $50 to Saks Fifth Avenue, always coming in handy to buy gifts, especially during the holiday season with a ton of different white elephant events. It's also a great way to try out things you probably wouldn't spend your own money on, like the popular Aesop soap or Diptyque candles, just to try them out. Stacked with Rakuten links, sometimes going as high as 15 or 20% back in cashback, then that's even more savings. If you want to check out more of those savings across thousands of stores, check out the link below where you'll earn $30 after you spend your first $30 and help support the channel. Thanks in advance. Then there's Equinox, which I've never even used once, and the $189 clear credit, which has come in handy especially when I'm traveling within the US and speeding up that process. Now, like I mentioned, there were a few credits I wasn't able to get to this year, which puts my value of the card at around break even or actually below it. Combined with lounge rule changes and the increased difficulty for me to use the hotel and airline benefits, it's only reasonable for me to reevaluate whether I should keep this card open for another year. But if you're in this situation, before going through any drastic actions, you can actually reach out to Amex customer support to see if there are any retention offers attached to your account. These are the type of offers that try and entice you to keep the card for another year by offering you some sort of cash or points. Throughout my 5 years with this card, I've had retention offers twice, one at 50,000 points and one at 55,000 points, I think both at 4,000 to spend over the next 3 months. But looking at data points online, it seems like Amex has drastically cut down the number of points they give for retention offers. But it doesn't hurt to try, so here's step by step on exactly how I did so. Now, you could beat around the bush with Amex, but these retention offers are either on your account or they're not. There's nothing you can say to the agent in order to get a retention offer if you don't already have one. So why not go straight to the question? In my message here, I tell the truth with my renewal posting soon. I'm reevaluating my cards and asking if there's an available retention offer. From there, they go through some conversation asking about your use of the card and the benefits, so there might be some back and forth. For example, I did recently get a car, so I take Uber less and may cause that credit to be used less frequently. Or the hotel collection like I mentioned earlier, or the changes to lounge benefits like trying to get into Centurion lounges with guests. The agents will know what you've used with the card, so definitely don't start lying. For example, here they've seen that I've used the $200 hotel credit and the $189 in clear credit. But then finally, you'll know if you have an offer or not. Unfortunately, the offer is much lower than my previous times at just 15,000 points after 3K of spend in the next 3 months. And I think that's a combination of a generally tougher macroeconomic environment as well as my lower spending on the card the past year. It is possible that if I spent more on this card, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, then maybe my offer would be higher. For example, this user said they spent $65 $25,000 in the year and only got offered 25,000 points or $250 after 3K of spend. And yes, if you decide to hang up or try again, then the offers may change for better or worse. And so if you're eligible for retention offers, this is an easy way to possibly save hundreds of dollars in value for just a few minutes of work, especially when you can just live chat them instead of calling someone up and actually talking on the phone. All right, next up for perks, we have lounges. Like I mentioned earlier, the Centurion Lounge changes are a major bummer because in my local airport SeaTac, there's a brand new Centurion Lounge with a lot of space, decent food, a large bar area, and a coffee and smoothie bar. Unfortunately, I won't be able to gain access with guests, which is a pretty common occurrence. And no, I don't plan on and can't spend $75,000 a year on this card just to unlock that benefit. On the other hand, the other types of lounge access do come in handy, like Priority Pass, which you may already know gives you access to over 1,400 lounges around the world, although excluding non-lounge benefits, something the Chase Sapphire Reserve card does offer, as well as the Plaza Premium network of lounges, which in my opinion is a smaller network but better quality. If I were to pin an average value for these lounge visits, it'll probably be around $20 per person per visit. Now, another way you can save money on this card every single year is through corporate cards. This isn't talked about too much, so I always like to mention it a bit because if your company offers corporate cards and it's the American Express version of corporate cards, then you're eligible to save hundreds of dollars off different American Express personal cards, with $150 on the Platinum, $100 on the Gold, $75 on the Green, and $50 on the Blue Cash Preferred. My company does this, so it's a great way to lower the bar of value needed to justify the card every single year. So like on the Platinum, instead of needing to get $695 in value, you pretty much only need $545. Next, Amex offers. Another lesser known perk, but did you know there's a list of at least 100 different places you can get a ton of value from if you add these offers to your card? And the Platinum offers are usually the best ones too. For example, going through some of the ones I've added to my Platinum card, you have $25 off 125 at Vuori, which honestly has the softest athletic clothing, 10% off Jin's glasses, which is where my glasses are from, getting $25 off $75 or more of spend at Resi restaurants, which is quite a significant one, Hertz car rentals, Cost Clothing, Hilton, Burberry, Macaj. There's a few on here I definitely plan on using, but to date, I've saved over $500 on these Amex offers alone, spending on things I would have spent on otherwise. And also because these credits are usually statement credits, you can still stack them with different types of offers like Rakuten links, giving you even more value from that cashback, which also can be paid out in Amex MR points. Just be aware that if any Amex offer requires you to use a specific link in order to get that offer, then you may only be able to track one or the other between that or the Rakuten link. All right, next up, American Express Entertainment and Experiences, where you'll get access to special tickets and events like the US Open, or even special experiences like the NBA All-Star 2024 and the Wimbledon VIP Center Court Package, or if you like festivals, special time periods to buy those Coachella tickets. I still haven't visited the new arena here in Seattle yet, but the Climate Pledge Arena also has benefits like separate entrance, 10% at concessions, and up to $25 off at select concessions in the American Express Hall. I guess those are some of the reasons to keep the card with you when you're going to special events, in case there's something special you can have with a card there. Now, there's a lot to be said about this card, but even with these perks alone, I've already been able to make value from this card year after year, let alone the Amex offers and lounge access we talked about, but also from statuses. Yes, Hilton and Marriott Gold aren't the highest of statuses, but you can still get some mini upgrades here in the US. But if you're traveling internationally, you're probably going to have a higher chance with less competition, because only in the US do you get cards that offer such amazing benefits. Outside of the US, like in Canada, the Platinum cards there don't come anywhere as close. Or also getting value from car rental status like Hertz President Circle, especially with the guaranteed upgrades and the widest car selection. In fact, with the Amex Platinum, you also get a 4-hour no-charge grace period in select countries, which could come in handy if you're, say, flying in the morning on one day and out in the afternoon on another day, so you don't have to pay a whole next day to drive those few extra hours. Then travel and shopping protections. Fortunately, I never had to use most of the trip protections, but they always give me a peace of mind when I'm traveling, like having the trip delay, cancellation, and interruption insurance, to purchase protection, extended warranty, which I can use on, say, my new Quest 3, which has a warranty of just 1 year, so I get 1 extra year on top of that. And then my favorite, return protection. Basically, it makes it so if I'm shopping, especially online, I don't have to worry about the retailer not taking the item back, especially when it's a final sales. That means during sales times like this past Black Friday, I had confidence that I could buy something for a steep discount, even if it's final sale, knowing that I can probably just claim with this return protection on the cart. And it's usually quite easy, like this example last year for a few shirts that just didn't fit. And then there's the Amex Concierge. Now the value of this perk really varies depending on what you have them do. Maybe I haven't found the best ways to utilize this perk, or I just don't need someone to help me with too many things, but they were helpful in trying to book a restaurant that we needed to call in for, like booking the Carbone in Vegas, where they were able to get a spot even before the spots were released on their online portal, or helping compile restaurants in Japan as we were planning our trip earlier this year, which not surprisingly was a trip enabled by cards like the American Express Platinum card, but also other travel cards like the Venture X. Now this video covered most of the basics, but if you want to know more of the hidden benefits that you might be missing out on, go on and check out this video for a full breakdown on all the unique tips and tricks I used on my recent trip to Asia. See you over there.